What's up everybody, it's Valkerion, and today I just wanted to do a small impressions video for Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. This came out a few days ago, and I would love to give this the full review treatment, and I fully plan to in the future, but I am swamped with games at the moment, and this is another long RPG, or a series of 2 long RPGs on my growing list of RPGs to play. So I'm just going to give some small impressions of my first few hours with the second game, and just some of the opening thoughts from the first game. Anyway, let's jump into it. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Baten Kaitos series, it is a more traditional RPG that came out on the GameCube years ago. The first game came out, and then the sequel was called Origins. And both games are pretty similar to each other, but there are some subtle quality of life differences in the sequel compared to the first game. For me personally, I'm focusing on Baten Kaitos 2 first, because it's the game in the series that I never actually beat completely. I got a good chunk into it when I was younger, and then I just never quite finished it. One thing to note about this game is it does not have English voice acting this time around. The English voice acting seems to be one of the compromises that had to be made to get this game to come out, maybe. But yeah, just jumping in to this game, one thing I really like about this game is how sharp and clear the font and the other visuals are for this game. It's really nice, it looks really great, pretty crisp, and all the extra stuff is pretty good all around on this remaster. One thing I do want to say about this remaster though is there are a couple of teeny tiny visual bugs, and you can kind of see it here if you look at the shadows on this this barricade. When you get close to it, the shadows fill in, and I don't know why, because this camera doesn't kind of moves. When you get further away from it, they just kind of dither away a little bit. But it's like very minor things like this that you're not really going to notice, so there's no point in like making a big deal about it. But other than that, if you just look at the visuals of it, this game does have lots of pre-rendered backgrounds. It is basically all pre-rendered backgrounds, and a lot of the interactable things like the save point and the treasure chest, and of course the NPCs and other characters, they're all rendered in 3D. And while it's not the biggest conversion, it does look pretty nice in my opinion. Another interesting thing about this remaster now that I'm looking at it is in the pause menu, you can trigger some really nice HD remaster staples, or at least that have been staples for things like Square Enix remasters. We got the usual no encounters. We have instant KO, which is pretty nice. It makes you do max damage for everything, which is pretty great if you just want to blast through a couple of fights, because there are a few difficulty spikes in this game, so maybe if you get frustrated and just want to blast through it. You can adjust the game speed to be 100%, 200%, or 300%. This is like the overworld speed. And then there's battle speed as well. But Baten Kaitos is a card-based battler, so, and you can also do auto battle. But yeah, Baten Kaitos is an turn-based, card-based battler, so turning on battle speed tends to be a little difficult. It kind of makes the game a little more difficult than it should be. So have a little caution when you use that setting. But yeah, the voice acting is pretty good in this game too, so. Especially Origins had good voice acting in English, so it's kind of sad to see it not be here, but. So this is another thing you might notice, is that this game's general performance is pretty so-so. When you're in the overworld just running around with normal gameplay, it's pretty fine. It's usually pretty fine. But when you get into battle, it's not completely perfect. Sometimes it's fine, and sometimes you can definitely see that it's chugging a little bit, or it's like spiking a little. But yeah, Baten Kaitos is a card battler, or card-based battler, but the card system in here isn't like competitive or like Collectathon really. Your basic attacks are your basic movements for your characters, and you can chain them together. You can also equip certain cards like weapons or armor, and this does exactly what you think. Weapons give you extra damage, armor gives you extra defense, there are some support cards, and the game just kind of gives them to you randomly. You'll never not be able to do something, and you can even throw away cards, and then they just kind of get shuffled into the next one, and like after like a second or two you can like choose your cards again. So it's not quite as difficult or as random as it might seem, or might be scared to see. So don't worry about it in that sense. That's something I really want to emphasize. Don't worry about the card system in this game too much. But as you can see in battle, I'm just letting auto battle play. It works pretty well. It's pretty good. I personally really like this game. It's really it has an interesting combat system. It's pretty fun. Like I said, it does have some damage, not some damage spikes, some difficulty spikes, and you can even chain together combos and attacks, and it's a pretty good system once you get all three of your party members on the field at one time. But yeah, let's move on to a different segment if I can. Looks like we'll have to reset the game to do that. But yeah, this game has pretty interesting and pretty beautiful backgrounds in some areas. That's another thing I just wanted to point out. This is a pretty nice looking game that I personally really love, and I think if you're interested in a pretty unique and interesting RPG, you'll like this game. There's also quite a few, not a lot, but there are some pretty good plot twists in it as well as being made by Monolith Soft of Xenoblade fame. I almost said Xenogears. I almost always say Xenogears. It's my favorite game of all time. It's also made by Tri Crescendo, who made Eternal Sonata and a couple of other games. Okay. This game is 100% all about the cards. It is a major theme in this game's world, and you can take the essence of various things like fire or water or just random key items in the game, and you can store them as like story important items that you can activate at certain times and certain points in the story. And while it is a little overwhelming at first, it kind of feels like you can just take everything, you're not really sure when you'll need it. It's really obvious when you definitely need something to progress, and then other times it's just good to have items, because you can actually trade in some of your items and whatnot. That way you can get like upgrades for your cards and abilities and whatnot. And speaking of the cards, you can make your own deck, and it's a lot easier than it sounds. When you make your own deck, you can just choose basic attacks, add some character specific super attacks, and then you can just chain into those, add some equipable weapons, maybe some elemental things that you might want, some healing items, and then you're good to go. And your deck can be expanded on as you play through the game. You can upgrade your characters, they level up, they get a little bit stronger. You can upgrade your deck through a menu and all the good stuff like that. There's even a good number of side quests, and the game keeps track of all your side quests, and you can go back and forth pretty easily. I don't believe there's any missable things, but there might be later in the game. One other thing I should mention before I go is Baten Kaitos 1 is actually a fairly different game from Baten Kaitos 2. It is actually very slow, and I hope that doesn't detract people too much, because remember, this game does have an option to speed things up, and you can even simplify this battle results menu as well. So we're gonna do that and see what it's like when you speed it up a little bit. But yeah, this game is quite slow. Or its battle system was back in the day. That's something that everyone kind of remembered it for. But you can dial it up a little bit, and you can simplify the battle results. And yeah, so we'll just do a battle here and show that off. I can use Ice Dagger and use this. So the battle systems between the games are pretty different, but the core concept is similar. But I would say if you're turned off by the slowness of the first game, just dial up the combat speed and you'll be fine. Yeah, you can also find like fruits and foods and whatnot, and when they're ripe, they actually heal you, but when they're not ripe or they're spoiled, they do damage. So every item in this game that you can absorb, everything in this game has a use as a card, which is pretty interesting and unique. So that's another thing I really love it for. It's a game that kind of goes all in on its concept. But yeah, that was just a quick look at Baten Kaitos 1. Like I said, I've been playing Baten Kaitos 2 mostly, but that's why I wanted to look at this one as well. Anyway, Anyway, that was a look and impressions at Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster. Stay here for the full review. Look forward to other reviews for other games as well. Hope to see you again next time, and peace out, good game, and all that good stuff. Like, sub, ring the bell for notifications, and I hope to see you again next time. Have an excellent day.